story begins with Rhys ap Thomas, that soldier and landowner who King Richard III had made his commander in south-west Wales. When in 1485 Henry Tudor returned from exile in France and landed with a small force at Mill Bay in Pembrokeshire, Rhys's job was to stop him right there. Instead, he joined forces with Henry and marched to Bosworth Field, a victorious battle and the coronation of King Henry VII. Thereafter, Rhys served Henry in a variety of roles, fought in battles in France, and became rich. After Henry's death, he was equally loyal to his son, the young King Henry VIII. Rhys's own son, Gruffydd ap Rhys ap Thomas, died before him, and so his heir became his grandson, Rhys ap Gruffydd, who had been born in 1508. The young Rhys lived at Newton, just outside Llandilo, in Carmarthenshire. However, when the grandfather died in 1525, the young Rhys was not to receive much of his inheritance. Instead, King Henry bestowed the vacant titles on his preferred successor, Walter Devereux, Lord Ferrers, who later became Viscount Hereford. Rhys was, to say the least, disappointed, and this sparked a great feud with Devereux, although young Rhys remained a substantial landowner. Why did King Henry do this? One likely reason is that Rhys was a Catholic at a time when Henry was very anti-Catholic and set to break the Church's power in a reformation. It was said that Rhys sought posts from the Catholic Cardinal Wolsey and had spoken critically of Henry's marital situation and of his new wife Anne Boleyn, who had been made Marquess of Pembroke. Rhys was an angry young man. He and Devereux each built up a substantial number of retainers. These were, in effect, armed gangs. Trouble erupted between them, and there were frequent violent clashes. Then, in June 1529, things came to a head. At the Court of Great Sessions, a top-tier court in Wales, which was taking place in Carmarthen, Rhys pulled a knife on his rival. He was seized by Devereux's men and held at Carmarthen Castle. Rhys's wife Catherine, who was the daughter of the Duke of Norfolk, gathered a force to free him and attacked the castle. Several of Devereux's men were killed. Trouble continued for months afterwards. Rhys and his supporters were now a direct threat to Devereux, King Henry's chosen man. Rhys was accused of rebelling against the king and taken to London for trial. The charge included that he had adopted the name Fitzurian, Irian being the name of a powerful 6th century king, and this was interpreted as proof that he was planning to make himself Prince of Wales. It was also claimed that he had been plotting with the Catholic James V of Scotland, which was, quite likely, a complete invention. Rhys was sentenced to death and beheaded on Tower Hill, London, in December 1531. He was just 23 years old. After his death, Rhys's landholdings were distributed among others, with King Henry taking the lion's share. Many in Wales at the time were, it seems, convinced that Rhys had been unfairly treated over the inheritance and was innocent of treason. There were fears of a rebellion, but none came. One historian described Rhys's fate as judicial murder. It was even suggested that he was a Catholic martyr. Others, though, saw things differently, like this chronicler writing at the time. Perhaps it is worth remembering that Rhys was a man with a grudge and not shy about using violence. As for Henry, the removal of a powerful Catholic who opposed his representative and whose property he could seize, was a very satisfactory outcome. Ultimately, it is an irony that the grandson of a man whose help was crucial to the creation of the Tudor dynasty should have met his end because another Tudor king wanted him dead.